This right here on the table is PC parts that I have been collecting over the last 6 months that people otherwise would have thrown out. Now, me personally, I don't like chucking PC parts out unless they simply don't work, and I can't get them to work. However, these parts on the table, they're all working fine, and so I want to see if the first generation i3 that was ever released to desktop users, that is the i3 550 with 2 cores, 4 threads, is any good for playing games in 2021. Now for this build, I'm going to be coupling it with a GTX 560, and although it looks dirty, I will clean that up really soon. We're also going to be using a used hard drive, a power supply with no labels on it, and then the final star of the show is a case that is dirty and is in need of some quick tech yes loving. So let's quickly whip this thing up and see how it performs.
Are you tired of seeing this annoying activate Windows message? Then if so, today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered. For as little as $14 using the coupon code BFTYC, you can get activated today. Works for Windows 11 Pro too. Link in the description below.
So we just quickly finished this PC. It took about 15 minutes. It's all completo dandito. The one thing I need to know from you guys out there, does your $200 or even $300 case do this? Hard drive installed. So after playing on this budget PC that we built up for nothing, I was actually surprised that the i3 550 can still play titles in 2021. Now in pretty much all these 4 titles that I played, and we'll go through them individually, the CPU was pegged at 100%. So if you wanted to get an i3 and you're on an extreme budget and you just wanted to play some of the titles that I'm going to pull up here, for instance, even a newer title like Warframe was playing at native resolution on low settings with just a little under 50 average FPS, and the 1% and 0.1% lows weren't all that bad. Now, we could lower the resolution even more if we wanted a smoother experience, but this, in my opinion, was a pass. Then on to Dota 2, I was getting around 80 average FPS in this title, again at 1080p native settings, and sometimes it would go up to 120 FPS. The worst this got down to was really around 50 to 60 in big battles, and then the 1% and 0.1% lows were actually really good. The next title I decided to play was a bit of Valorant. This was around 60 FPS on native 1024p, so even though it wasn't a 1080p monitor, it was still close enough. And in fact, you can get away with gaming on something like this PC with a 720p monitor even in 2021. So if you're on your local marketplace or if you have friends that are, say, upgrading their PCs and they happen to have something really old lying around, or even if you find a very old first generation i3 Office PC that someone's selling for dirt cheap, you can definitely make even a decent gaming PC out of it. Now, the one title that I did come into problems with, and this is the only title that we played out of the 4 today that didn't run so well, was Apex Legends. Even on the lowest resolution, on the lowest settings, I still came into some stuttering, where especially in the fights and the battles, it just got really bad to the point where it was stuttering, and besides that, I just could not see the enemies clearly. But I would say that had more to do with the GTX 560 than it had to do with the i3 550, even though I feel like Apex Legends will need both a better CPU and a better GPU to get a smooth experience. But for what it's worth, this PC can play those easy to run, free to play titles without any problems, at least from what I saw here. So with all the gaming aside, something like this little combo that we put here together really isn't that bad. And honestly, I was having a fun time. I mean, one of the most played titles that I like to play here is Dota 2, and I can play that smoothly on this PC. And I do like to play a bit of turbo mode, especially since I find the rank mode is just way too stressful. You got people yelling at each other all the time, and you just want to have a bit of fun. You just jump into some turbo, and that's sort of where I do play in my free time if I like to play video games nowadays. And it's funny because the game isn't all that demanding, which goes to show that in a lot of cases it's the gameplay that beats the graphic. And a lot of free-to-play titles are also very enjoyable, so you don't need to spend money to have a good time when it comes to PC gaming. And I think there's going to be even more of a shift in this direction, especially since the new stuff, take for instance an RTX 3080, is going to cost a few $1,000s to put together a new PC in that respect. But when we get back to something like this, you can essentially play games for nothing and still have a good time. And for me personally, I enjoy doing stuff like this because I know this is where you can get a lot of enjoyment for so little, and you won't be getting ripped off. You won't have to work a couple of months just to get a gaming PC to play some games in your free time. And this has actually got to do with the question of the day, so we'll move straight there, where it comes back to these graphics card prices. And the person, Hellcat, they ask, oh my, $47, now it's a staggering $400 to $500. So they're referring to our video we did quite a while ago where we looked at RX 470s and how at one point after the previous crypto boom, they went down to as low as $40 essentially. So you can just see the difference in prices on GPUs. Basically, if there's demand swarming for a particular product, there's also going to be a higher price. And that's exactly what you're seeing with graphics cards, because the other components, even though I feel like inflation is creeping in and it's actually a separate problem to worry about, I feel like graphics cards are flying much higher than inflation, to the point of 200%. Sometimes these graphics cards will be priced even 3 times higher than MSRP. And if we look at RTX 3080s or 3060 Ti's, it's definitely getting to that point. So if you want to get a good price on a GPU, there's either 2 methods you can do. That is, be quick, and I mean very quick, and look for a good deal locally, which is what I usually do here at least once a month on Tech Yes City. Or you can just wait until crypto, the profits drive down to a point where miners aren't keen to start paying the prices that they're paying right now for these GPUs. The last curveball I'm going to throw in here is that if you are saving dollars and you are, like me personally, worried about inflation, and that's essentially where the purchasing power of your dollar decreases because there's essentially more and more dollars that come into existence, then you can save in other forms of money. Don't just think of dollars as money. There are other forms of money out there. So me personally, I'm saving in different forms of money, and when those opportunities come around where the prices of graphics cards relative to those other forms of money is lower, then I will buy up some more graphics cards, because at the moment we are going into such a different environment. And I've been saying this on the channel for ever since the start of the year actually, but now it's starting to become a reality, and we're starting to see this all around us, where we're actually going to now get real shortages in tech products because of the imbalances in the monetary system. I can cover this in another separate video, so if you want to know more about this, I will make another video, because I do speak to lots of people in the industry. I am well connected, and what's to come, it doesn't look like it's good news, especially when you look at the macro economic picture from the IMF, where they're just throwing out, I think it is another $650 billion out into the wild. So man, shackle up everybody, get ready. But don't worry, and I'll be helping you through these turbulent times. With that aside, the PC, it was all good. I'll put the power consumption figures up on the screen. It didn't use up a whole lot of power. The temperatures were really good on both the CPU and the GPU. And do let us know in the comment section below what you think of the i3 550 and also the GTX 560. Even though it said on the badge it was a 560, it did come up in Windows as a 560 Ti. So anyhow, I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. If you stayed this far and you're enjoying that tech yes content, then you know what to do. Hit that sub button, ring that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out for now. Bye.